All right, high rollers, you know and love our guest today, although the love part may be fake news. Not everyone does. A controversial figure on darts Twitter, and that's why we have him back time and again. I don't always agree with him, but I certainly admire and appreciate the character that is Oche Balboa. Throws punches and bunches, and he calls them as he sees them. Today, the top 10 talking points on darts Twitter. So many issues, so little time. Oche Balboa. It's Oche again on Twitter. And check out his blog, Oche's blog, at ochedarts.blogspot.com. Oche's blog, baby. Chris, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being our high roller today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on again.
Let's start with Q School. So many storylines. Fallon Sherrick plays well but fails to secure a card. Corey Cadby returns and wins one. Adam Smith-Neal wins a tour card on the very last day, while Conan Whitehead misses out on a card by just one leg. And in fact, if he hadn't played that last day, in hindsight, he would have got one. Oh, the drama. Issue 1, Q School. What jumps out at you? The format? The players? What?
I think the format is a bit of a problem because there's 7 days worth of action and it just doesn't seem to produce the best players. I mean, if you look at the flaw in the system with Conan, who could have just lied and stayed in bed all day and would have got a tour card, but he wasn't to know that, and he missed out by one leg. It's just mad. I think more cards should be available from the Challenge Tour rather than Q School, but I can understand from a selling point with the playing and people getting into it and everything like that, why it is what it is, but there needs to be changes to the system to make it a bit more fair for everybody else.
Well, you know what you always say, it's a lottery.
Yes, absolutely. And I know people have a go, but not have a go, but have a bit of a laugh on it on Twitter. But yeah, I always maintain it's a lottery, and the vast majority of the players don't do anything on the Pro Tour for 2 years, and then go back onto Q School, and then they find themselves in the Challenge Tour not earning much money. So it's one of those things. But the problem is, what is the best format for it? Who knows? Because there are about 12 or 13 different versions of different things. I know the darts referee came out with a video saying about different ideas. And again, you look at it, you think that's great, but then you think, well, maybe not. But there's loads of pros and cons for it, and it's one of those things where they might have to change something to see how good that does in 2 or 3 years. For 2 or 3 years, and then change it again, and I don't know.
It's a fascinating watch on Dart Connect. 7 days this year, 3 days qualifying, then 4 days for the cards. How about Corey Cadby? A lot of controversy around this guy, and he's back with a bang.
He is. There's nothing wrong with Corey Cadby, the darts player, but Corey Cadby, the person, there's always controversy around that issue. The issue is, can he stay out of trouble? If he does, then the sky's the limit for him. But yeah, we've been here once before with him, and he's probably lucky to get another opportunity. But this is the opportunity he has to grab with both hands, because his talent's there. There's no doubt about it. But from a darts player's point of view, it's good that he's got a tour card. But it's just one of those things. Let's see what happens.
Adam Smith-Neal. I mean, this guy is not well liked, to say the least.
Oh, the reaction with him for getting a tour card is just mad. I'm no fan. But people putting out petitions to stop him from getting a tour card and everything like that. Yes, if everybody wants to read into what he's done, he's not a great character at all. But you can't ban him because he's done something good, because they didn't seem to have a problem with him doing Q School. It's just a problem with him getting a card. And at the end of the day, they need to chill out a little bit more. And the complexes of his character will be shown up in the end anyway, because I don't think he's that popular around the professional darts players anyway. So let's see what happens.
I will say one thing. He's got time maybe to repair a bad reputation. And I'll say another. This guy is a pressure player, isn't he? I mean, this guy can play.
Well, yeah, he can. I mean, he's won the World Masters, then he proceeded to do nothing for 3 or 4 years. Then he gets this card and everything like that. But another person who's got good pressure, who's lastminute.com sort of player, is Nick Kenny. Again, last day, he gets to talk hard, and he's got into the World Championships through the qualifying for the PDC. So he's another player that really has got more talent than relying on lastminute.com. And Nick Kenny, I think, will have a good year this year. That's my prediction, and now it's on tape. Let's see what happens.
You talk about Nick Kenny. If you look at a guy like Josh Payne, it'll be interesting to see how these guys take a second chance.
Yes, definitely. I mean, Josh was a shock because he was doing all right. Yeah, he's lost his form a bit, then he lost his tour card, and then he went onto the Motor Super Series and did all right there. Yeah, it wasn't too much of a shock to get a card. There's just something missing with him at the moment. Perhaps he's got it back. I don't know, but he's another interesting one. I mean, he's only 28, 29, so, he's still got plenty of time.
Do you think Q School is too open? I mean, you still have some players there shooting very low averages.
Yeah. I don't think people should be entertain the idea of Q School if they haven't done anything at a ADC level or at a county level or at WDF level or anything like that. I know people say with their money they can do what they like with it, which is fair enough. But 450 quid to get thrashed 3 days on the trot, not my idea of fun. I mean, there's plenty of events by the WDF and ADC circuits where these players can go on and play against players for their similar standard and learn a lot more for their game. But going to Q School just to say, yes, I'm a PDC player, okay, you get onto Challenge Tour, but Challenge Tour is more or less the same. So it's just one of those things. I would rather than have a complex system if they improve changes on Q School where they basically, have you achieved anything in any of these fields? And if the answer is no, then sorry, you can't go to Q School. If the answer is yes, then go. Not everybody gets in, of course, but, I'd rather cream the top off a little bit.
You have to give a shout out to Dart Connect because I find myself watching it. I'm glued, checking in on my favorite players, the North Americans mostly. I was watching Fallon as well, and I'm sitting there wondering to myself, what am I doing? I'm watching chalkboards here.
Yeah, basically, we're watching numbers on a screen and, just change and scores and averages and all these scores like, oh, is this guy going to get 180? Is this guy going to check out? Is she going to check out? Things like that. And you just think, the Darts Connect and Darts Atlas as well for the ADC. It's been a great creation because, you can watch it anywhere. You can put it on your laptop, you can put it on your phone, you can put it in your tablet, and you can watch it anywhere. It's a great invention and it brings more to the game, and I like it. It just brings another dimension to things.
I like it too, and I'm always sitting there in anticipation, waiting to see if it goes yellow 0, as if the takeout happened. I just can't wait to see it. And then you're like, oh, he missed. No.
Yeah, yeah. Or you wanting another player, not because you prefer the other player to miss, and he doesn't, and you just think, oh God.
I know. It's a great watch. Kudos to Dart Connect, dartconnect.com. You gotta love it, baby. All right, issue number 2, the World Championship at Ali Pali. Michael Smith gets the job done. He survived a few scares, but then he let Michael Van Gerwen have it in the final. Loads of people for years have been predicting this guy as a future world champ. Now, here he is one. At least one commentator was calling it the greatest final ever. Now, Darts Twitter took exception to that. It did produce the greatest leg ever. Your thoughts on the World Championship?
Well, the World Championship in itself, I thought was pretty, not average, but just wasn't that great. The final, it's a bit hard saying this, but if you take the leg away from the final, Smith was well in control. I just felt it was a mere World Championship which was captivated by that leg of darts, which was the best leg of darts of all time. It was nowhere near the best final of all time. I mean, once Smith got the ascendancy, he was never going to lose that. As for Michael Smith, we're now into an era now where he's going to pick up titles right, left and centre. I mean, it's already happening. I said in the past on Twitter about 2015, 2016 that I didn't think he'll win anything. But then I changed it a little bit by saying once he wins something, he'll win 10 or 11, and that's what's going to happen. He got to finals this year, like the UK Open, the European Championships, And as soon as he won the Grand Slam, the new era was going to come. And you might have... I'm actually hoping that there's a rivalry between Van Gerwen and Smith on the same level as his darts version of Federer versus Nadal, or not Djokovic versus Nadal, and that sort of thing. I'm hoping that, really, because it needs it. Because every time there's like a rivalry, it's always like one-sided, or it never happens, or whatever. So I'm hoping, them two just scrap it out in finals if need be.
I mean, the sheer scoring power of Bully Boy is astonishing. And from 3-3 in that final, you basically saw MVG, some say the greatest ever, although Phil Taylor has got to be number one. But, I mean, you just saw this guy, the Green Machine, kind of wilt.
He did, because it was relentless pressure. I mean, Smith is probably one of the most talented darts players there is, because he just makes it look so simple. He's just like putting it in the board. Now he's winning titles. You'll see something different. Yeah, he just dominates MVG. MVG struggles when there's serious pressure on him, and there's never been. I know you had that match with Sulovic and everything like that, but Sulovic was playing catch up. It was a great moment he got there 1-6-7, but Sulovic was always playing catch up. In fact, MVG had enough to spare. But once somebody was on top of MVG, he just struggles a little bit. So sometimes he does well, sometimes he doesn't, but he just struggles a little bit. So that's what happened, and let's see what the rivalry takes us next time when they're playing in, the Masters and so forth. Let's see what happens if that's the final.
As you mentioned, we're seeing it now, Smith getting to finals, winning them. You're saying we've created a monster. The one thing I've noticed about this guy is he seems to be taking the game more serious, turns his back, he doesn't overreact, he's not celebrating. It's all business once he approaches that hockey. You're right, the relentless pressure.
Yeah, he does. There's a different attitude towards it in the last 3 or 4 months. It's like he's got to finals and they haven't really affected him. He's just like, well, I know I'm going to get to a final again, so I'm going to win this one. And that's what's happened. So with Michael Smith, he's developed himself as mentally over the past few years as well. As I say, we're getting into a new era with MVG, because MVG had a great year. I mean, he won four TV events, so you can't rule that out either. So yeah, Smith versus MVG. If they contest most of the finals, it'd be good. It'd be just like Nadal, as I said, like the tennis wars in the last 15 years. So let's see what happens.
Certainly a scary proposition, a natural talent like that, a guy born to throw darts, and you add in mental toughness. Let's see what happens. All right, issue number 3. Lots of banter about the PDC crowds at Ali Pali. It is billed as London's biggest Christmas party. The drinks are flowing, the fancy dresses happening, the booze and whistles are happening too. Now, we don't want a snooker crowd, do we? The whistling is not good, though. Just ask Erwin Price. He put on the headphones. The headphones, man. Gezi tried to drown out everything. It didn't work. Have you ever seen the like, my friend?
No. That was just the bizarrest moment I've seen, certainly in the sport of darts ever. It was like, I don't know if it was some sort of gamesmanship. He tried to put Clements off. He probably thought Clements, being a little bit inexperienced in these big matches, probably thought, oh my God, what's going on here? And, affected his game. But Clements didn't even look at him. It's just one of those things. But as the subject of the crowds are terrible. I mean, you get at the World Championships, it's just terrible. It's just like, what's the best way to describe it without being detrimental? They're just terrible. I'm just going to go with that. They're just terrible because they don't know anything about the darts. They don't know the complexities of the matches because they boo them and hiss them or whatever. Singing stupid songs about England when Alan Suter's playing. Why? It doesn't affect him, so why do it? It's just things like that. There's no call for a party atmosphere because that's what should happen, because it's before and after Christmas. It should happen, but there should be respect for the players as well. And the PDC, the horse is already bolted with that. PDC can't do anything about it, but should be better knowledgeable people coming in. But we're pissing in the wind a little bit there.
Yeah, it's a catch-22 because, I mean, look at the prize pool for the World Championship. People are getting rich playing darts on that stage, and they're getting rich by those fans that pay the ticket prices. And I'm wondering, what is the solution? Is it referees? Should they have more authority? I mean, what is it? Should people be getting kicked out? What?
Security should do a bit more. I think that's one thing. Referees probably should do a little bit more. One thing, if a player's got a concern, just stop the leg and just give a thing. It might not do anything, but if they hear strong people instead of going under the ref, thank you, that means nothing because they don't even hear that. So I'm just looking for something a bit more forceful. Get people to pick out idiots, get the security to chuck them out. It'll be a long process, but that could work. And, no one's telling people just to sit there for 3 hours and just watch. If you want to make a song and dance, do it, but do it properly. Because the best atmosphere is the seniors, because people go to watch the seniors at the Circus Tavern next month. That's a proper atmosphere. That's the old school atmosphere. Now, we're looking for something a little bit different. We're looking for something in between old school and being absolute idiots. So, a party atmosphere, but respectful. That can be achieved, but it needs a lot of hard work.
Well said, my friend. You know what I say? I say earplugs okay, ear defenders not okay. I mean, come on, man.
No.
All right, issue number 4. I guess the broader issue is women's darts, but should the PDC start a women's world championship? Bo knows darts. Fallon is awesome. Lisa Ashton is a legend. I mean, is the time now?
I don't think so. I don't think the PDC at this time, because of they get three ladies now into the PDC World Championships. They don't feel the need there to be a World Championship. They say, well, we're running 12 events. We're running 12 or 16 events, and we've got a world match play on a Sunday, but that's what they want to do. I don't think a World Championship is on their mind yet, and I don't think the call for it should be. I think there should be more calls for everybody to support the WDF Women's World Championship, because there's a couple missing, as we know, who don't do the WDF anymore, and to try and get the best players there, because the best players would be playing in the WDF and the PDC, and that's what you need for women's darts. Everything a bit bitsy, because some people miss certain events, some people miss others. So at the moment, the PDC Women's World Championship, if it does happen, if the second edition does happen, I don't think will happen for a few years yet, because of the simple fact that they get the best women into the World Championships anyway.
I have to admit, I do like watching the ladies slug it out with the gentlemen. It's exciting in its own way. And I'll tell you what, these women nowadays, they give it a go. They're there to play and win.
Oh, yeah. The whole standard of it all is getting better every year. There's 3 women that can play at a good level. There's 4, actually, with Suzuki as well. They can play at a good level, and that's good. But it's a long while before you say women could come into like the World Championships and actually blitz it and go on a fantastic run. Fallon almost did it a few years ago, but I'm on about going into the quarterfinals and semi-finals, because you look at it and there's no real difference between a man throwing a dart and a woman throwing a dart, really, generically. It's just the way it is. I just think they're a little bit behind. But women's darts is getting better. It's getting better every year. What we need is more women to play it at a local level, at a county level, at a regional level, and so forth. That's what needs to happen. And signs are becoming that it is going to happen, and I hope it does. If we've got a strong women's section, then we've got a strong men's section, we've got a strong sport of darts, everything feeds into each other, really. So let's just see what happens.
Issue number 5, the Premier League. I watch it, but I find it a tough watch. I don't feel it's a major. You've got the same players week in, week out. It's a bit monotonous. The invites themselves are subjective. It's also taxing on the elite players. It leaves some others out. Is it needed? I mean, and what about the format?
I think the format's absolutely poor. I mean, you've got 8 players in there every week, and it's just like, it's good for people that go to like Nottingham or Birmingham or even in Germany or the Netherlands, because they get to see a knockout tournament on a night. But from a dart and a rack point of view, and from the darters themselves, playing the same several players, is just monotonous and boring. And it's a tough schedule because they're on the road for 14, 15 weeks, plus they've got Euro Tours probably a couple of days after, or Pro Tours a couple of days after. My proposal would be the Premier League becomes 16 players, and you've got two conferences, so to speak, and it plays on alternate weeks. So Smith and Van Gogh, for example, will be in different conferences, so you don't get that until you run a risk of that not happening until it might not happen at all because they might not qualify. But then you have quarterfinals, semi-finals, and final. But the only drawback of that is, say, Nottingham. People have got Nottingham and want to see Van Gogh in, and he's not on the bill because it's the other group. So it's just tough to think what the best thing is. Currently, it's not the best thing at all, and I think 16 players, even 12 players, 8 on, 4 off every week is probably a better way because PDC have got the players, and they can get a few developing players like Josh Rock, Luke Humphries, people who just had a good year like Danny Norbert and people like that. So they can do it. It's not like the cupboard's thin bare because that's not the case. They could do it, but I don't understand why they don't.
I have to agree with you. I think that format is better than the current one. I mean, the current one does bring into question the PDC calendar. Is it too stacked? And what exactly is a major anyway? I mean, the Premier League is not a major.
Definitely not. A Premier League is an invitation event, which is good for players to win. I've never classed it as a major. I don't think many people do, apart from Sky, because Sky like to bill it as their great thing. I don't think the players do. The players like to win it. Of course they do. They're not stupid. But it's never a major. It's not a world championship. It's not a world match play. So yeah.
On the topic of formats, the Grand Slam of Darts qualifying format has taken some criticism, and also the World Cup format. Singles versus doubles. It always gets called into question. Issue 6, tournament formats. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I'll go for the World Cup first. The World Cup should just be doubles because singles is just boring. You get singles everywhere else. Let it be unique. We want to see doubles matches. England versus Canada, for example. I don't think we should see Matt Campbell versus Michael Smith in a singles match. It offers nothing. But if we see Jeff Smith and Matt Campbell versus Michael Smith and Luke Humphries in a big, massive, 15 legs, 17 legs, slugging it out, even starting from 701, 1001, slugging it out, that offers a lot more than single matches. So I think the World Cup should eliminate all single matches. Perhaps the final they could look at doing that to offer a bit more, a bit more of an occasion, so to speak. Grand Slam of Darts. Yeah, in itself, it's a dead competition because the BDO's not there anymore. They're ignoring the WDF for whatever reason. The 8 coming from the Pro Tour is too many because there's guys that win on Pro Tours, don't qualify and lose the first match, on the Pro Tour qualifier. Yet someone will win 3 games on the Pro Tour qualifiers and they get through. And you're just like, what's the point?
All right, issue number 7, my friend. What about the payout differences between major events and Pro Tour events? One fan writes, it's harder for the lower-ranked players to make moves. Do you agree with that?
It depends with the situation on that because the Pro Tour events is the bread and butter of it all. The major events is what if they do well on the Pro Tour, they get onto. So it's a bit of a complex situation. I mean, if you do well in the World Championships, you're gonna go up the rankings. If you do well in about 10 Pro Tours, you're not really. So it all works out well in the end for players what they do because once they do well on the Pro Tour, they get into the majors. I can understand things need to be looked at a little bit with regards to prize money, but not on the level that it's harder for players because it's not. They just need to do well on the Pro Tour.
There's no question the calendar is stacked, and on one hand, that's great for players because it gives a lot of them a chance to make some money week in, week out. On the other hand, some players might be fatigued. It's a tiring, grueling schedule. Yeah,
people don't seem to realise it's more than just throwing 3 things at a board. It's the travelling, it's the mental thing, getting up, doing stuff. Yeah, the rewards are there, right? But there's still the same complexes where people, having to jump on planes, having to travel on cars and so forth, and living out suitcases and everything like that, and it can be detrimental to their health in general. I mean, you've seen that issue with James Wade early last year, when he had to get a hospital thing. But yeah, I don't blame players for sacking off Pro Tour events or Euro events or anything like that because they've done the hard work anyway. So, I mean, going on the Pro Tour all year qualifies you for the Players' Championships, really, and the Euro Tours, the European Championships, really. But if you've done enough to get into the World Match Play, World Grand Prix, and things like that, then you could look at your schedule and think, I don't need to play Players' Championships 16, 17. I have a week off. I need to have a week off. Recharge the batteries, do whatever you do, that sort of thing. I think more players should drop out and have a rest. If they feel they're good, then by all means. But yeah, have a look at what you do and have a look where you are in the rankings and everything like that. And players are doing that because you don't see Van Gerwen at events, you don't see Gerwen at Price at events sometimes. They are beginning to do that, and I think managers got to look at that as well. And managers got to say, okay, if you don't want to do the Pro Tour event, don't do it. Simple.
Issue number 8, the PDC commentators. How would you grade them? Everybody seems to have their favorites and their least favorites too.
Yes, I'm well documented too. I'm not a fan of two of them. Yeah, I don't I don't like the fact that they bring in these strange ways of thinking. Like, I can't stand the 170 be called the big fish. What's that all about? 130 little fish. What's that all about? Now 180s are called maxes. What's that all about? Just go by. Just go by what it is. Oh, it's 180. Yeah, it's got 180 maximum. Yeah, great. Don't go maxi. What the hell is that?
Let me ask you this then. What is that all about?
It's very true. Yeah, I mean, yeah. The problem is, right, with certain commentators, and certain commentators try and copy other commentators. It's because you had 3 commentators in the PDC for 15 years doing all the events. Sid Waddell, John Gwynn, and Dave Lanning. They were 3 legendary ones. They'd done it for 15 years prior to that, and they were well respected across the game. The problem is that they became a void when they retired, and these people are just trying to be the next people like them. You can't be the next people like them by trying to be wacky and out there and everything like that. You can't be the next them. You just have to be the only you. And I mean, one commentator comes out with the word Aerosmiths. I'm just like, the darts players are not Aerosmiths. The darts players, just call them darts players, not Aerosmiths. It sounds pretentious, and you're trying to be too intelligent to the audience, and they're just not interested. They just want to know what's happening on the dartboard. It's a simplistic game where they're trying to make things complicated and trying to bring in these buzzwords where there's not really any need for it. Just commentate on the game, analyse the game. Simple.
There is only one Sid Waddell, and there is only one John Part. All right. Issue number 9.
Yes.
Amateur darts needs refining. Please explain.
Yes. I'm probably in the minority, but I don't like the word amateur at all, because I find it quite degrading to players. It's too broad a term, because, I mean, I'm an amateur darts player, but he's the likes of Neil Duff and Martin Adams, are they amateur players? Give over. I'm not in the same league as them. It's that sort of thing. I mean, cricket uses the term recreational for everything below its county level. So I'm looking for something which covers WDS, ADC, and Mother Super Series and things like that, as sort of a sweeping term which sounds better, and it includes the players at the top of the outside the PDC structure.
Semi-pro?
Semi-pro is a good term, but again, there are people who are not professionals in the PDC, if you get what I mean. Take, for example, Martin Adams. I don't think he works outside of darts, so he does expos and everything like that. That's his income. So he's a professional darts player. So he's like someone like Paul Lim. He's a professional darts player, but they are called amateurs, which is bizarre because they don't have a PDC tour card for their own reasons. And then you've got people who are earning $2,000 on the PDC Pro Tour Order of Merit, and they can't be professional, because if they're professional, they're basically going to be living on the street soon, because, $2,000 doesn't get you very far. You see what I mean? It's just so complex, and that's why I don't like the term amateur, because it just defines everybody as, oh, you're just inferior. See you later.
You bring up an interesting point there. There's more than one way to skin a cat, pardon the pun. There's more than one way to make a living at darts. You don't always have to be up there on the big stage in a competitive match in a major tournament. You can be doing exhibitions, signing autographs, selling merchandise, all these things nowadays. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I know Motor Super Series, they have 12 players a week, and they get £250 a day. So some of them get over $1,000 a week. So, you could earn $1,000 a week doing the Motor Super Series, and you could be called, and you're called an amateur. Well, you go into if you go into the PDC, have a tour card, and you've not won anything for 10 pro tours, and you're just like, but he's a professional, and you're like, but he's got nothing he's got no money, and this guy earning money, doing Motor Super Series, doing WDF events and exhibitions, and he's not. So it's all wishy-washy, and that's why I don't like it, because it doesn't define anything, and it never has. I mean, there's a certain journalist that loves to say the term amateur to players. I mean, he was saying it to Lakeside World Champions, and you can just tell they're just like, what? They're not amateurs. It's just ridiculous.
Issue number 10, haters in darts. Now, some people on darts Twitter are called haters. You know me, I'm a goody two-shoes. I stay out of all of that. But you, have you been called a hater?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've been called hater for loads of things, and it's wide up the mark. I mean, there was a thing with what Fallon said at the Grand Slam, bring on the haters, and it just rolls people. It just rolls people up for no reason, because no one really. You looked at it last week. There were 99% of the darting fraternity on Twitter wanted her to win the tour card. So that doesn't mean there's hate. No one hates Fallon Sherrock. It's just that they hated the hype machine. It's just everything gets into a bit of taken out of context. There's people who have genuinely hatred for a player. That's fair enough, and that can be put to one side, and that's wrong. But there's people that criticise them, what they do, criticise their walk-on, criticise their approach to tournaments, criticise what they're doing, and they're perfectly entitled to have that point of view. I mean, there was one player who's not in the PDC who wanted to try and fight somebody on Twitter for expressing an opinion, and this guy, he's just a young lad who's expressing an opinion. You're just like, get over it, guys, because darts is very pretentious, and the management make it very pretentious. If you want the sport to grow, then you're going to get loads of critics, and people don't like that. They just say, "Oh, you've never played the game." They're entitled to their point of view. Get a life. They're entitled to their point of view. If you don't, you disregard it. Big deal. Job done. Don't just call everybody a hater and try and fight them. It's just ridiculous.
Job done. He's one of my faves, folks. Oche Balboa, one of a kind. At It's Oche Again on Twitter. At It's Oche Again. And check out his blog, aptly called Oche's blog, at ochedarts.blogspot.com. You are my guy for this one. The top 10. I hope we came close to the top 10 talking points on darts Twitter. But there you go, Chris. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Not a problem. It's great being on. Thank you very much.